everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. It is great to be back on PowerTube TV. This show, as always, being brought to you by TrackTune, and you will hear more about TrackTune as we go through the show this evening. We have not one, but two special guests on this episode. We start with a driver from one of my favorite divisions of motorsports in all the world, the NASCAR Tour Type Modifieds. And this is a third generation racer, Luke Baldwin, going to join us. And then we are going to also be joined a little later in the show by Gabe Tesch. And Gabe is a racer that those of you who have been around PowerTube for the last couple months may be familiar with, because Gabe Tesch was the subject of a movie that has aired on PowerTube multiple times called Do Something Extraordinary. And Gabe is going to join us later on the show. But first, Luke Baldwin and some short track racing conversation. Luke, welcome to the show. It is great to have you. For a 17-year-old, you are accumulating quite the record. For someone who has only been racing for about 2.5 years, you've got some wins and you've got some great runs in a multitude of different types of cars, or types of racing anyways. So first of all, I want you to talk a little bit about your background and start with your granddad, because Tom Baldwin was a driver from the Long Island area of New York City that I grew up watching in the 70s racing modified. So talk a little bit about what you know about your grandpa, and then talk about your dad's kind of entrance in racing career, and then we'll get to yours.
Yeah, so my grandpa just really just raced modifieds all around the Northeast, places like Riverhead or Islip, or places in New Jersey, wherever he's going. And I never got to meet him, but I hear he was a pretty wild one.
He was. A lot of fun to watch. Nice guy, too.
I believe it. Yeah, he definitely put on a show. And, and then my dad just kind of grew up working in my grandpa's automotive shop that we actually still have. My dad owns it, Baldwin Automotive on Long Island.
Okay.
But I grew up working in the automotive shop, just working on my grandpa's race cars, and then he never drove or anything. He never really wanted to. He, pretty sure he started building a late model and his mom shut it down pretty early.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like in his earlier days, but, yeah. And then my dad just kind of started branching out, helping other people, crew chiefing on other cars. And then he decided to pack it up one day and go down south with no plan, no nothing. Him and Bono Mannion and a couple other people he helped bring down, and quickly got into the NASCAR scene. And within a couple months of being down there, had a full-time job, was building cup cars, and was a NASCAR crew chief from, I want to say, 97 to 09, and then 09 he began his own cup team, and had that until about 2018 to 2020-ish. So I grew up around it, going to the cup tracks and watching my dad's cars go and playing with my die casts in the house, but never got to race when I was a kid.
Do you remember what your sort of first memory of going to a racetrack was? Can you tell us? You remember that far back? It had to be a NASCAR race, I'm guessing.
I just remember being a little kid and rolling into Daytona. It was one of the coolest things ever. And like going through the tunnel, rolling my window down, yelling out the window because of the echo in the tunnel. Me and my brother used to always do that. I remember Martinsville throwing the football in the motorhome lot outside of 3 and 4. Bristol, riding my bike down this big hill in the motorhome lot, singing the national anthem with MRO. That was really cool. Not just me. It was a whole group. They do it every spring race. All the kids from MRO come down and sing the national anthem.
Motor Racing Outreach, for those who don't know.
Yep. And, and then Charlotte, obviously I went to Charlotte a lot. And, I just it was always a fun time to go stay in the motorhome and go to MRO. I basically grew up with, Miss Melanie and all the people from MRO, and they played a big role in my life growing up. And I had an awesome time. I loved going to the races, but I never really knew, like, I never even really thought about how it could be possible for me as a little kid to get in. Like, I didn't really know bandoleros even existed or anything like that.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember my mom racing the better half dash in a bandolero at
What
Charlotte.
is that thing, Mom?
Yeah, I didn't even know that kids normally raced them. I thought it was something they just, I don't know. I didn't even think about it. So I only really knew about quarter midgets, but that got shut down pretty quick growing up. So yeah, I remember watching and being a regular fan, keeping up with the NASCAR Cup Series and beyond, and I never even really knew about short track racing.
Who did you cheer for? Who were some of the drivers when you were young and going to the NASCAR track? I mean, your dad obviously had a team, so whoever was driving for him, I would suppose. But was who were your earliest sort of favorites or influences?
Um, I really like Dale Earnhardt Jr. Pretty early on, I liked his character and who he was and how much he did for the sport and his dad's past. So I like Dale Earnhardt Jr. Ryan Blaney, when he first started coming up through, his dad drove for my dad. So
Yes,
I remember sitting in the
sure did.
suites at Bristol watching a cup race with Ryan. Me and my brother and Ryan in the suites. So he was always really nice to me growing up, and so I really liked seeing him come through the ranks. Kyle Larson. I always loved Kyle Larson. I just thought he was a really good race car driver. Um, I like I. There wasn't a lot of people I didn't like growing up. I didn't like. I guess Kyle Busch was the main one. I wasn't a big, but I've grown
You
to
weren't the only one,
right. I've grown to respect his character and
for
how
sure.
crucial that is to have in the sport. So I liked Kurt. Um, really
Now
anybody.
that
I liked Eric Almirola a lot because I remember him and Clint Boyer as well. I liked a lot of guys, but I remember being at like the playground in Daytona, and Eric had his son there and playing with him on the playground. And Eric was always a super nice guy to me. Um, I poured the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge on Clint Boyer's head um, when that was a whole thing.
well,
So
there's a nice resume item.
yeah, uh, that's a memory that just popped in my head. I haven't thought about that in a while.
I'm sure Clint really enjoyed that.
Oh, I bet. I'm pretty sure I was just like riding a scooter and he pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, you want to do this for me?" Like, I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure."
That's funny. Okay, so you've been around a lot of the guys, and now you've kind of grown up in it. And how did it come to pass that you actually started racing? What was the genesis of that?
So my brother Jack, he's about 3 years older than me. He started playing iRacing a little bit. I always played the video games, never actually played iRacing. I just do the
Okay,
controller stuff.
yeah.
And then I tried it once or twice and I liked it, but he didn't really let me try it often. So I was like, all right, whatever. And then all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, I'm going to test a legend car tomorrow." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm going to drive a legend car." So I'm like, "Oh, okay. I want to do that." so, so then
Me too.
I think my birthday, I got a computer and then was able to get a steering wheel and pedals, and I started playing iRacing and I fell in love with it. You couldn't pull me out of my chair while I played that game all day long, just for hours at a time. Um, and that's what really taught me how to drive because I didn't grow up in a go-kart or anything like that. So the iRacing taught me all the basics and how to race and how to drive, where to find speed, all that. And then I begged and begged and begged for my parents to get me a legend car while my brother raced. And my grades in school weren't the greatest. So
Oh,
they were like, "Hey, you don't get good grades, you're not racing." So I'm like, "All right."
good for
So
them.
I picked it up. I picked it up. My dad bought me a legend car. It sat for another probably 8 months after we got it, just because I hadn't earned my keep to race yet. I started to work in the shop a little bit and go to the track and help my brother's legend car stuff um, after he started racing. So that kind of helped me earn my spot. And then then May of 2022, I ran my first legend car race. Did like 15 or so that year, and here we are.
Wow. Where was your first legend race?
I raced at Florence.
Oh, nice.
I remember we went a day early to test, and my second run out, I was like half a tenth better than my brother, and
Uh-oh.
I was fired up. I was like, "Let's go! Like this is awesome." And then, of course, Joe Ryan cars showed up, and they blew us out of the water. Like Kenny Lewis
Humbled you real quick, didn't they?
put like 4 tenths on me, half a second, whatever it was. But I qualified I think seventh out of like probably 18, which wasn't horrible. And then on lap two, car Blake Sasser. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but
No, I don't think so.
he ran some legend car stuff. Uh, I think a late model racer too, but he got to my inside going into three, and I never even knew he was there. I came right down, spun myself out. I thought he dumped me. I was fired up. I was pissed off. I got out, and then we only got 12 laps into the race, and then it rained out, and I got out of the car. I'm like, and my dad's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I got dumped." Like, "Oh my god, whatever." And my dad's like, "No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You came
Calm
down."
down, son. You spun yourself.
Yeah, and that woke me up pretty quick.
Well, that's awesome. So Florence was where you started, but then you did eventually come to the granddaddy series of them all for Legends, the summer shootout at Charlotte. And I understand that you struggled a little bit there.
Yeah, no. So I ran that one race at Florence, and then after that, it was straight to the shootout.
Whew.
And
Wow.
and my dad will tell anyone this: he hated the legend car racing. He hated it. He wasn't. We didn't take it super seriously. He didn't put all of his effort into it at all. So I don't know that I had the greatest car. I could have had a pretty fast race car, but I don't know that I did.
Right.
And so I struggled a lot. Like I wasn't fast. I didn't have the speed. I wrecked a few times, whether it was my fault or not. Some of them were, some of them weren't. And I struggled. I didn't run very well ever at the shootout, and it was kind of like very humbling. And I was like, oh, like this might not work out. And then after the summer shootout, I went to Florence to help one of my buddies. It was his first race ever. I went down to Florence to help him out, and AK Performance was there testing the day before the race.
Okay.
And my friend Cade Brown raced late models for him at the time, so I knew them pretty well. And then I walked over there, and they were testing a bunch of legend cars, and I jokingly said, "Hey, can I get in one?" And Kendall's like, "Yeah, go for it, whatever, go drive." So I drove it. I drove it a few laps on some really old tires and had some solid speed. I was like, "Wow, this thing drives off! Like this thing's incredible." So I was like, "Is anyone racing it tomorrow?" He goes, "No." I'm like, "Can I race it tomorrow?" He's like, "Sure." So I went and raced on like some probably 100-lap old Florence tires. Like they're smoked, and I ran like fourth out of probably I think like 12 or something.
That's
And
good.
I was like, I wonder if I bring my summer shootout tires, if I run a little bit better. So we went back, I think 2 or 3 weeks later, brought my summer shootout tires, and a lot of guys showed up. Like it was like a solid field. Like Lucas Vera was there, Cameron Murray, just some legend car ringers that I like would have expected to get smoked by. Like Josh Spees was running. He was really good at Florence. Jaden Bowling was a really good at Florence. And my brother was there. And I went first practice, top of the board by like 2 tenths.
Wow.
And I was like, holy, like this might be good. And then I go out to qualify. And this isn't that funny, but it's probably not good. But looking back at it, you can laugh. I went out for qualifying. I was so nervous. I'd never had a shot to go get a pole or something. So I went out, qualified. I think it was like 3 or 4 laps. I ran them. I'm like, whew, I think that was pretty good. We might have a shot. And I go to take my belts off. My belts weren't even latched. They were just laid on me.
Oh, wow.
Like I didn't even latch my belts right. I was so nervous. I was like, I couldn't believe it. But then I was on the pole by like a 10.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to find out how young Luke did in that race and talk more with him about his career in the big cars when we come back to the Tom Baker Show in just a moment.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show on PowerTube TV, and this segment being brought to you by Ultimate QM. If you are looking to get your son or daughter into motorsports, quarter midgets may be a great option for you. They run locally, they run regionally, and they run nationally. You can even run the NASCAR quarter midget series that they have and run on the same weekends as some of the NASCAR races in the parking lot of the racetrack, depending on what you want to do. An Ultimate QM made right here in Mooresville, North Carolina, where our studio is. It is a family-run business. Andy Loden, Nick Loden, his son and wife Stephanie run the business, make the cars, build the cars, and Nick has gone out and won about 180 quarter midget races. Now he is a coach for the team and helps a lot of the younger drivers along. If you want the best in quarter midget construction, Ultimate QM, winners win with Ultimate QM. Luke Baldwin's our guest, and Luke's been talking about his initial start in racing, which now we get to the Legends car, and he has tested a car that he didn't own, AK Performance, I think, right, Luke? Is that, if I remember that from the first segment, and you ran pole, and now we're about to find out if you actually ended up winning the race. So tell us about the race now. You were pole by a 10th.
So green flag drops. Green flag drops. I clear him. Jaden Bowling was on the outside pole. I clear him out of 2. And I kind of got into 1 a little easy because I was scared. He got a nose ahead, and I was like, oh, boy. So I clear him out of 2. We're going down the back stretch. Caution comes out. I'm like, oh, God, got to do this again. Restart. I have Lucas Vera behind me, and then Jaden Bowling's on the outside pole. I kind of go a little easier into 1 again, and Jaden gets just barely a little nose on me. And then, boom, I'm getting smoked from behind. And Lucas Vera is pushing me up the racetrack. I make contact with Jaden's left rear. He spins. I keep going. I keep my position. Caution comes out. And then race control put me to the rear for spinning the 01. So I lost it. I pulled up to an official. I was like, I got pushed. Blah, 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 blah. They're like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. So I was like losing my mind. And there's 27 cars in this field. And I'm more mad than I've ever done in my life.
Driving angry.
Yep. So we end up only getting like 7 laps in because over the course of an hour because of all the yellows. So I ended up finishing 9th. So I came from 27th to 9th.
Wow.
I probably only really passed 8 cars under green, and then other ones were cars that wrecked. And then I probably got like 8 spots just by going by clueless people under yellow and nobody catching me. So I ended up 9th. Was really disappointed, and then I went back, drove a different car for AK at the South Carolina 400 weekend, and qualified like 6th. All the Joe Ryan cars were there, like Brandon Lewis, bunch of really stacked field. Qualified like 6th. Me and Dawson Sutton made contact. I spun. I kind of came down on him a little bit. It was probably more my fault than his. I see it as a racing deal though. I go to the rear. I make a few passes, and then I'm passing Keelan Harvick. I'm pretty sure this was his first oval race ever.
Oh, wow.
Or one of the first. I'm passing Keelan Harvick. I go under him into 3. He leaves me plenty of room. Couldn't ask for more room. I go into 3, lock the brakes up, slide up into his left rear, spin him out.
Oh, no.
And push myself off the racetrack. Looked like an idiot. Then I bent something in the right front, pulled it in.
Oh, wow.
I was done.
So let's get to the big cars. When did you know it was time to go to the big cars? Because you've got a pretty good record between 602 mods and the actual NASCAR tour type mods. How did you know it was time?
Really, my dad just hated legend cars, so he wanted me to get out of it as soon as possible.
Okay.
As soon as the shootout was over, we sold my car. I got rid of that, and then we got a modified from Jimmy Blewett, an old Troyer chassis, like probably 2015.
Okay.
T83 car, and and then my brother got his car. We completely rebuilt his car and kind of halfway rebuilt mine.
Okay.
And went down to New Smyrna for the World Series for my first crate race. I was like, all right, yeah, maybe we can go run 10th and learn something and have some fun. And then we ran like 4th the first race, and I was like, man. And this year there was a big debacle they had in the rule book. You could run any wheel width between 10-inch and 13-inch.
Okay. Yep.
So we only brought 10-inch because it's all we race in North Carolina. So we weren't going to spend the money for 1 week. And we really thought it would only stretch the sidewall and not make that much of a difference. So I ran like 4th and then like 6th. The first 2 races getting beat by cars with 13-inch wheels. So I'm like, all right, I wonder if there's something we can do about it. Trevor Catalano won the first 2 races on 13-inch wheels.
Okay.
So I went up to him and I was like, hey, like, do you have an extra set I could borrow? Like, I feel like I'm missing a little bit. And they very kindly lent us a set of 13-inch rims.
Oh, wow.
So we put them on for practice, went top of the board. I was like, all right, well, this was the ticket. And
did they come back and want the rims back after that?
No, they were. We got the pole, won the 3rd race of the week. That was the first one Trevor didn't win. Trevor ran 2nd.
Oh, boy.
And then me and Trevor were battling for the championship on the last race of the week, side by side racing, like a little bit of nerfing, a little bit of bumper tag.
As you
his
do.
Wheels on my car. One of the best races I've ever, like, I'm a little biased because I was in it, but I've watched it so many times since it's happened, and it's one of the best races I've ever watched. Like, we raced it was one of the best races. We got out of the car. Trevor was like, that was awesome. I was like, dude, yeah, like I couldn't believe it. I ended up winning. He finished 3rd from Hail Mary on the last lap.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a really cool race, and me and Trevor are pretty good friends now. And they won it for me when they gave me I wouldn't have been up there winning those races without the rims.
Sure, without the rims, yeah. So you were the 2023 World Series, New Smyrna World Series 602 champ, and 2 602 crate modified wins, 5 602 modified poles. Boy, again, just steady at the front. You picked it up very quickly. Now you've done some pro late model racing too. What was, in about a minute or two, tell us what was behind that.
Yeah, we met Buggy Pletcher that my friend Gavin was racing for him in New Smyrna, and I was like, I want to go pro late model racing. So we performed at New Smyrna, and the opportunity came about. My dad gave me the go ahead. We went and ran a Carolina pro late model race with Buggy, and probably should have ran second. Got dumped by Tristan McKee. No hard feelings there. It was whatever happened. Uh, Finished fourth. Came from the back. Finished fourth. Then I got the opportunity with Walker Motorsports, ran 4 car store races in the Snowflake with them last year, and I've ran 2 this year so far with them. So those guys at Walker Motorsports have been super important in my career. They've done probably too much for me. They've done a lot for me, and I can't thank them enough.
3 top 10s in the Cars Pro Late Model Tour. Top 5 as well mixed in there. So again, just great performances on track. And that team, Walker, is a team that I feel like is sneaky good. They're not one of the top flashiest teams that get name checked, but those cars run. And
absolutely. I've been trying to tell people that since I've gotten in that car.
Yeah.
They have, it's really the best of the best stuff. I think it could run with the Donnie Wilsons and the Rackleys of the world. Like I truly believe it can. There's inexperience last year is what, like, my inexperience. Sure. That's why we weren't like we qualified second at Ace in my second ever late model race and ended up getting wrecked. But we qualified second. We had the speed, and we ran at the snow. We went to the Snowflake with a brand new Fury car, and we were top 5 in practice all week. I don't think we were ever outside the top 5. And I messed up really bad in qualifying, put us like in the 25th or something.
Oof.
And then we kind of missed on the race adjustments, and we're 2-3 in the race, but we ended up 11th. So, it is one of the fastest cars out there.
Yeah. No, I think very highly of them. And like I said, they're sneaky good. Now, you don't hear a lot about them, but if you watch the races and they've got a driver that can take the car to the front, it's there. And no doubt about that. Now, you've also run some Smart Modified Tour. For those who don't know, that is basically the Southern modified version of the NASCAR Wheelin' touring series, and has been around the South for quite a while. You've got 1 win and 2 poles in the Smart Modified Tour, 6 top 10s and 5 top 5s. I feel like you've had several wins you could have had and just didn't, for whatever reason, not of your own doing necessarily. But you have done so well in the Smart Tour. Have you been surprised at your own performance?
Oh, for sure. Like, first race this year was the first tour race. We went to Florence, and we were top of the board in practice. And I was like, whoa, this doesn't really feel real to me. We qualified second and ran top 5 the whole race. Then I slipped up, finished 5th, whatever it was. My performance has kind of blown me away just as much as anybody else. So, I've really just had great race cars every single race. And to be honest with you, I think we've had 7 races this year. 5 out of the 7 races, I think I had a winning race car, a race car that probably should have been put in victory lane.
Yep.
And then the other 2, not far off from that, like a 2nd to 5th place race car. Neil Cantor and the PSR Products guys and all the guys at Sandler Stanley Racing, they have yet to leave, I have yet to leave the track disappointed with how that car is driven. It's been incredible for me. So it makes my job very easy.
Neil is a genius. I just think very, very highly of Neil. I've worked with Neil before in different situations with different drivers, and Neil is just amazing. One of the best you can get. It was fun to have you and Jack both racing at Auburndale too, back in February during the Winter Showdown. And it, again, great experience for you on a number of different tracks this year. Got about a minute left. What is the future plan for you?
I don't know. I'm going to make my NASCAR Women Modified Tour debut next weekend at New Hampshire. So that
There
will be
we
a big
go. Okay.
one. And from then on out, I'm gonna take every opportunity I can get. In the family car, I'm gonna run some Pro 8 model races, some Cars Tour, and some big shows down south
Nice.
later this year. So yeah, just hopefully the opportunities come up and I perform. I need to perform, and I put myself in the right position to take it as far as I can go.
Okay, about 30 seconds. Let's get thank yous, sponsors. Who helped you make all this happen, man?
Yeah, I got to thank Sadler Stanley Racing Team. They gave me a huge opportunity this year to do what I do. Pace-O-Matic, the Stanley Law Group, Mohawk Northeast, Bell Helmets, Racing Electronics, Baldwin Automotive, my family. I don't want to forget anyone here. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Well, look forward to seeing you in victory lane, and I'm sure we'll have you back on again at some point during the year because you're going to win something big. So we'll want to bring you back on to talk about it. But good luck to you and Jack both as you go through the 2024 season. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, Tom.
That's Luke Baldwin. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to talk with Gabe Tesch, a childhood cancer survivor who kicked cancer's ass, and now he's trying to kick ass on the racetrack. We'll be back with Gabe right after this.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show on PowerTube TV. And our show, as always, being brought to you by TrackTune. We have our second special guest of the episode here. It is none other than Gabe Tesch. Those of you who are regulars on PowerTube TV, I'm sure you've seen Do Something Extraordinary. It was cool for me. I believe it was Memorial Day Monday. I got to watch two great movies on PowerTube, of which Gabe's was one of them. And we're going to talk about the other movie on an upcoming show. And there's a reason why I'm stalling that conversation, because we're going to try to get one of the stars of that movie to be on the show when we do it. So good to have you with us, Gabe. I think that it would be appropriate for us to go back to the very beginning with you and say that normally when we have a driver on, that driver started racing at 5 or 6 or maybe 7, maybe a little bit late, maybe 10, and has built a number of levels of racing and are now somewhere where we can talk about their career. That's not how your racing career started at all. What came first for you is one of the things that we want to talk about. And I want to get into this right at the point where you're 11 years old and you started to get sick, and your mom was just coming through breast cancer. And you can stop me if I'm getting anything out of order here. And so on the heels of your mom's recovery is now you going to the doctor and finding out that you have brain cancer. Talk a little bit about that in detail.
First of all, Tom, just thanks again for having me on your show.
Absolutely.
This is awesome. And, Yeah, exactly. My mom just finished treatment for breast cancer right when I found out that I had brain cancer. So it was just two huge hits for our family,
Yeah.
just right off the bat. And so, yeah, it was a really hard time for my whole family. Just, because we just got through this hurdle, and then all of a sudden the next hurdle is already right there. So, yeah, definitely a hard time for sure.
Now, you're 11 and you hear the words brain cancer. How at 11 years old do you begin even to process what that actually meant?
Yeah, it was definitely hard. I remember being in the car, leaving the hospital with my mom, and she pulled over. And, I didn't really, at that time, I didn't know what was going on. I just know that I left the hospital and they took my parents in the back and talked to them. So I haven't heard the news yet. But
Oh,
my mom pulled over and she gave me the news that I had brain cancer. And I just remember just bawling, just I was so scared and so terrified. But to be honest, it was kind of a blessing, as weird as it sounds, that my mom had breast cancer, because I knew what I was going into. I already knew what it was going to be like. My mom was there every step of the way to explain to me what was going to happen, and that helped a lot. But still, it was terrifying. And I just remember being in that car with my mom and just, you know crying just the whole way home. And yeah, it was definitely, yeah, a scary time.
yeah, I'm sure it was. And again, you say that, it was a blessing that your mom had breast cancer because, you knew you had kind of lived that with her, but also for her, she knew what was kind of coming down the pike. And I wonder if that was even worse for her, thinking about what you're about to go through, right? Even just, to get to the point of survival, the treatments and the effects of those treatments and the lifestyle changes and the isolation and all of those things. She would have already known that, where maybe you weren't quite as aware at that age. So I wonder if for you, the experience, because you were so young, maybe wasn't quite as traumatic as it might have been if you're older. And yet in some ways, once you obviously got into the treatments and all of the isolation, all of that started happening, then it's even worse when you're a kid because you're not with your friends and you're not able to do the things that the other kids could do. So talk a little bit about sort of the change in your lifestyle and the family dynamic during that time, because your dad was a racer also. So it isn't like this desire for you to race that you eventually decided that you had after the cancer. It isn't like that was just a random thing, but like everything stops when someone has cancer. And your mom had just sort of gotten out the other side. And now we got to go through this all over again as a family.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, I was 11 years old, so I was super young, and that was such a hard time in my life, because not just going through cancer, but you're still a kid and you
Yeah.
still want to do normal things
Yep.
like all the other kids can do. But you can't. You're stuck in the hospital all the time. You can't leave. You can't be with your friends, and it feels like your life is just kind of wasting away. Like all these moments that normal kids get to have are just gone, and you don't really get that back. And like you said, my dad was a race car driver, and me personally, during that time, I always wanted to be a race car driver. That was my dream since I was a kid, since I first went to the track with him, and I just saw that kind of vanishing away. And so it was just not just physically hard on my body, but mentally hard to just stay all mentally there. Because, like I said, you're still a kid. I had this big dream, and I just saw all that disappearing. So, and my family saw that too. They, like, me and my family are super close, so they are feeling what I felt. And so, yeah, definitely just a hard time.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. And you went through How many months of treatment did you go through? I was trying to remember from the movie. It was a long period of time.
Yeah, to give you an example, so I went through 48 weeks of
Okay,
chemotherapy
that's what I was going to say
and
about 44. Yeah.
48 days of radiation, and my mom went through 16 weeks of
Oh,
chemotherapy. So it was a really big number. Um, yeah, just almost about 2 years of battling this, and so yeah, it was a long time for sure.
okay. So, um, do you remember the day that you were told that you were cancer free?
Yeah, I just remember being just the happiest kid in the world,
I bet. Yeah.
after like it was so emotional, you go through this battle for 2 years. And it's kind of like I tell people this all the time. It's kind of like a soldier coming from home from war. You go for this battle, you have all this support, and you get done and you're like, okay, what do I do now? Like you're happy, but at the same time you're like kind of in this depression of like, I just went through this, I had all this support, and now like it's just all over. Like what am I supposed to do with my life now? Like all those years are gone, and how do I get that back? And so it's an amazing moment, but at the same time it's not, it doesn't end there. It's still kind of the recovery process of all this is really hard. So
And you were 13, right? By that time? And
yeah,
so, I mean, I'm sure you lost a bunch of days of school. You lost, obviously, the chance to play sports or do whatever, but like, how did you restart? What was sort of the way that you pulled yourself out of that depression and started to reconnect again? I know racing had a part to do in that, but there had to obviously be more than that because you've got to go back to school and try to start now living the life that you couldn't live for 2 years.
yeah, definitely just my dream of becoming a race car driver. I think in my belief, I think we should all have dreams and all chase those dreams no matter what we go through in life, and not let fear hold us back. And having that dream ever since I was a kid, I was so determined to not let anything stop me. And I think that really helped me get through that time, just giving me that determination to go chase this thing. And yeah, I didn't go to school for 2 years straight. And yeah, I couldn't do anything. I was so physically weak, so I couldn't play
Yeah.
sports or anything like that. So it was all a catch up process. Um, but yeah, like I said, just the dream of becoming a race car driver is really what got me through that time, because, like I said, I was so determined to become a pro race car driver.
How much did your faith play a part in all of that too during that 2 years? Because I know that you're an extremely faithful person, follower of Jesus. Talk about the role even in that time. How did you did you pray a lot? What was that like for you?
Yeah, no, of course. My faith has been everything for me. My whole life, with my whole racing career, with the battle against cancer, with everything. Yeah, my faith in Jesus is everything. So yeah, um, it was kind of funny. I didn't pray to God during that time to heal me. I was actually thanking him. I would be like, "Thank you, Jesus, so much for completely healing me," because I had that much faith that I knew I
Wow.
was going to get through this. And and then once I finished that cancer treatment, I felt stronger in my faith, and felt a stronger man, a stronger person. And I knew that um, actually, so my once I finished my treatment, my parents said, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I was like, "I want to be a race car driver." And they kind of laughed at me at first. I'm like, "No, God didn't get me through cancer to do something ordinary. He got me through cancer to do something extraordinary."
There you
And I
go.
just had that mindset after that, because I wanted to bring hope to kids that are going through the same thing that I went through. And I feel like um, that's why God, you know, that's why God, placed me on this earth to give hope to those kids. And yeah, I truly believe that, and that was a big part of what got me through that whole time in my life.
Wow. Okay, so what kind of cars did your dad race?
So he raced like in old vintage cars. So he raced old 1972 40Z.
Oh,
That was his
okay.
car. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, he loves those things. And yeah, he just did like all the SCCA stuff, all the historic stuff like the Monterey Historics, and yeah, I was, like I said, ever since I was a baby, I was at the track, and that's really what started it. Literally, my first word was Porsche. So
Not mama, Porsche.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks to my dad. I think my dad had a yeah. I think
Yeah,
my dad helped
you're
me
in
out with
the
that
you're in
one.
the crib or the nip nap, and your dad's going Porsche, Porsche, Porsche.
Yeah,
That's great.
exactly.
Okay, so you didn't start in those kind of cars, though. You started in an entirely different kind of car. We got about a minute. Talk about the very first time you sat in a race car.
In a race car. So yeah, um, I started in go-karting and made my
Okay.
way up really quickly. And I
What
remember
kind of go
actually,
kart?
and then starting go-karting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
so
kind?
starting go-karting and actually my first two races ever in my life, I did horrible. My first race, I crashed. My second race, I got dead last. And then after that, I won 8 races in a row to win the
Wow.
championship that year.
Oh
And so,
my.
yeah.
Third time was the charm. But what type of karting? Was it two cycle on road courses?
Yeah, so I did the 2 strokes on the road courses and also the 4 strokes.
Okay.
And yeah, it just clicked for me. I'm not gonna say it was easy. It was a lot of hard work, and but yeah, that's what it takes to get anything done. So
For sure. Okay. So a crash and a DNF and then 8 straight wins and a championship. That's how you do something extraordinary. We're going to talk more
yeah.
with Gabe Tesch about his story in the next segment. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
For race fans across the United States, getinthestands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to getinthestands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. Getinthestands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to getinthestands.com. Getinthestands.com, your racetrack directory.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show on PowerTube TV. And we are joined once again by Gabe Tesch. And we've been talking with Gabe, talked with him about his battle and subsequent victory over, I love saying that when cancer is the next word that you say in the sentence, his victory over brain cancer and the start of his racing career where he had 2, you might say, difficult starts in a go-kart, and then the next 8 races went to victory lane there too and won a championship in your first year. Now, I'm curious, at that point in time, are your parents now thinking, as I'm sure you were, hey, I can do this? Where are your parents' minds at? Because I know your dad was a racer, but you know, obviously they're aware of the dangers of the sport, et cetera, and you're still young and still, you know, within a year of having cancer. How did your early success affect the sort of mindset that your parents had toward this dream of yours?
Yeah, at first they were thinking this was just going to be a hobby for me. My mom was really scared because I literally just got done with cancer, and now I'm doing like one of the most dangerous sports in the world.
Yeah.
And and so my mom
And
was
then you
terrified. She
crashed.
still is to this day. And but yeah, like I said, my parents at first thought this was just gonna be a hobby. And then they saw that I had some talent. They saw that I was really good, and they're like, "Oh, it's all over. This is not gonna
Yeah.
be a hobby."
Uh-oh.
And and I don't, you know, it's been a hard road because, you know, we don't come from a lot of money. And so it was a lot of hard work of trying to find those sponsors and those partnerships to keep raising the money to go up and up the ladder every year.
Yeah.
And so, but my family, you know, they're amazing and they backed me fully. My dad, you know, he has so much fun going to all the races, and he's helped me a lot. So they were fully behind me, but they had no clue that I was gonna get to this point. And so, yeah, it's been wild.
So, kind of walk us through the next step in your career, because you went from go-karts and started getting into single seaters, right?
Yeah, so yeah, you know, I always open wheels was always kind of what I was looking to, and my first year in open wheel cars, I moved over to the UK. I got a ride over there in the
Yes.
British Formula Ford Championship, and so I lived over there for a year, and raced with Team Dolan in that series, and yeah, it went really good. You know, we got a couple podiums. We did really good in the championship, and yeah, and then kind of after that was when that was over, I came back to the States, did the F4 championship with Skip Barber. And yeah, so 2 years of open wheel racing, and yeah, it was awesome.
So you and I started to communicate more when you went to the UK and were doing the Formula Ford. And one thing that I didn't know until I watched the movie, and again, correct me if I get the details wrong, but your team had a shop fire or something, right? Talk a little bit about that, because here you go. I mean, again, you're still not that far away from having dealt with cancer, and now you're living over in the UK by yourself and doing this big form of racing, which is a big enough adjustment, but then you go through a fire. Talk about that, because I mean, that just had to be very difficult for you.
Yeah, that was insanely difficult. Not just for me, but for the whole team. It
For
was a huge
sure.
setback.
Yeah.
It really, you know, really hurt our season because, you know, we lost a lot of testing time during that because, of course, we couldn't do testing because with the team owner trying to figure out to find a new place and stuff, it wasn't going to happen. We lost a lot of things in the shop that we needed, extra engines and stuff. Luckily, we were out of the race during that weekend, so we still had the cars, but just a lot of spare parts and stuff were there, so it hurt us really bad. Difficult time for the team, but we got through it, and you know they're still racing to this day.
They
And
are, yeah.
yeah, but it was just crazy because you know it's like one thing after another, and like, oh my gosh, like really, like can I just not get a break?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was wild, but you know we got through it.
Well, and again, you ran well over there. You had some really strong performances, and in the movie, it details some of that. And again, for those who haven't seen it, this is not a movie with a bunch of actors. This is a biography, and it's footage from throughout, Gabe's life and his career. Really cool to watch you run those cars and start to get better. Then you came back to the States, and like you said, you ran Skip Barber. And I love that series. How did you adjust from the Formula Ford to the F4? Because again, basically two different cars.
Yeah, no, definitely. The Formula Fords, I think that prepared me a lot going into the F4 car. People say Formula Fords are actually one of the hardest cars to drive.
I
They say
believe
if you
it.
can drive a Formula Ford fast, you can drive anything fast. So hopping into the F4, it actually just kind of came naturally, and it was a little bit easier but the competition was really stiff that year in the Skip Barber F4 series. We had Sebastian Weldon and then Jackson Bell's kid, and a lot of really fast guys from Cardin and stuff like Caleb Gaffera, and so super quick guys. And that top 5, that top 6 pack was like extremely close, like all within half a second sometimes. And yeah, it was tough just because, like I said, the competition went so stiff. But thankfully, I had that year before to kind of help me step into the F4 car and get me prepared for that.
So what made you decide not to continue in that series and ultimately switch over to what you're racing now, which is, interestingly enough, basically a stock car?
Yeah, just because with open wheel, it's extremely expensive, and it's extremely hard to make a professional career out of it. Like an F1 or IndyCar, there's only so few seats, and it just got too expensive for us, honestly. Because like I said, we don't come from tons of family money.
Yeah.
All my career has just been me raising money, knocking on doors. So it's been hard work. But yeah, it just got extremely expensive, and a lot of opportunities came up for me to go down the GT path. There was a couple of teams that really wanted me to race for them. And so, I just had to take it. Like, I couldn't pass it up. So yeah, here I am racing GT cars.
Which is great. And I love this. This is a new series, I think, that you're running. And if I'm not mistaken, tell us a little bit about this series and the team that you're racing for.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a brand new series in the IMSA paddock. It's called the IMSA Mustang Challenge. Ford is making a huge push in motorsports, and they started their whole new series. And yeah, and I'm racing with MDK Motorsports. Team owner is Mark Vami, and our team manager is actually Jan Magnuson, which is Kevin Magnuson's dad. So it's super cool to meet him
I
and
didn't
get
know
his
that.
insight. Yeah. And yeah, we met Mark last year and talked to him, and racing the Skip Barber series, and testing with a couple other GT teams last year. News just got to him that I was pretty quick, and he really wanted me on the team, so he helped me find a sponsor, primary sponsor for the car, and that was a huge help to get me on the team. And yeah, we have a really good relationship, and I'm super excited to continue racing for them this year.
Okay, 2 questions. Tell us about the transition to that car, and then tell us about your sponsor.
Yeah, yeah, huge change. Completely different. Like I said, I come from open wheel cars, so and then
Changes
going to
your
a
middle
GT
name.
car that weighs like way more. Go from 1,000 pounds to like over 3,000 pounds. Total different driving technique. So yeah, that was hard. That was honestly really difficult. Just learning that skill. And all the guys in this series, they come from kind of GT experience, so super quick guys. But yeah, like I said, MDK has been super helpful getting me up to speed. I've worked really hard with the team, just trying to figure out the car, because all the cars are new this year. Like, the team literally just got the cars this last week for the first race. So it was just me and the team traveling down in the car. And then for the second question, my primary sponsor is Ease Logistics, and Mark was able to bring that into the team and help me out with the race budget a lot. So yeah, that was a huge blessing for sure.
So for those who might want to go in that direction for racing into a series like that, what type of budget does it cost to do a Mustang in that series?
Yeah, I think it's about 300,000 for the season.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite expensive. Like I said, I'm super blessed to have Ease Logistics on my side, and a lot of other sponsors that helped me, and MDK has been a super big help on getting me on the team. So yeah, that helped a lot. But yeah, it is very expensive, especially the more you go up the ladder in IMSA. Once you like start getting into GT4 cars and stuff, it just gets more and more expensive. But yeah.
Okay, so very quickly, thank yous. Tell us about your sponsors.
Yeah, so yeah, all my sponsors are OTL, Outside the Lines. They make the big water features for like the casinos in Vegas and stuff. We have RMK, which is a concrete company here locally in Spokane where I live. We got Cressy Doors. They build garage doors and stuff. And then Ease Logistics, Chicane Shoes. They sponsor my shoes for this year. Grand Prix Originals. They make jackets and shoes too. So yeah, no, I'm thankful to all my sponsors this year for helping me out and making my dream possible.
Where can we watch your races? Are they broadcast or live streamed anywhere online?
Yeah, you can watch the races on NBC Sports, Peacock, Ford Performance's YouTube channel, and IMSA's YouTube channel too.
There we go. Very nice. Well, we wish you the best of luck this season, and glad to see you back on the track, and fun to see you in an IMSA type car. And I think there's a great future for you there. So where can we, other than PowerTube TV, where can we follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, just Gabe Tesch 48C, and then Facebook, Do Something Extraordinary. And yeah.
Well, Gabe, we are just so thankful to God for everything that he's blessed you with, and your mom as well, and look forward to your future in the sport. That is Gabe Tesch. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. This was awesome.
And that is going to wrap things up for another episode of the Tom Baker Show here on PowerTube TV. For more exclusive content and stories, join us at steeringwheelnation.com and on our 24/7 streaming page on watchpowertubetv.com. Visit tracktune.live to check out how you can sign your track or series up to be able to hear all the PA action through their phone or device. And of course, check out ultimateqm.com for all the info on how to get your young ones started in quarter midget racing. Winners win with Ultimate QM. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Wheel Nation and Steering Wheel Nation on LinkedIn. Until next time, I'm Tom Baker. Thanks for watching.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.